Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to AVX Live. I'm Joe Gilderson, President of Corporate Audio Visual Services. And, we're in our spring season right now. We even have a lot of the kids that are off for school, but I got to tell you, it's Gala season. 100%. We work on over 100 fundraising events per year. And so we're actually experts in audiovisual and lighting production for these types of events. And so I thought it might make sense for us to go through that and discuss a little bit. But before we get started, let me just remind everybody how you can find us. You can find us on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube Wednesdays at 1 o'clock. On any of those channels, make sure you hit the like and subscribe button. Pass it along to your friends. I mean, what are you holding this information back for? And look, if you're watching today, drop a comment, be a part of the show. It's always welcome. If you miss anything, just go to our YouTube channel. The other 121 episodes are all listed there. And afterwards, I'm hoping my friend Alexis gets some Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, some little shark bites on there, some little clips. See if there's anything that might be helpful for everybody. So look, we're going to get into this thing. Let me just see if I have something I can share the screen with. This is what happens when you're an all-in-one production. So let's see what we got today. All right, here we go. This is going to be fun. Let's bring it to stage. All right, so we're going to talk about Gala season. So most of the time, we always start out with audio and video, which honestly, the audio is not that hard to plan. It's hard to execute, but it's not that hard to plan. So let's take a look and see what are our first steps, right? So the first thing we're always looking at is, hey, where are the speeches going to be? Are they going to be at the podium? Are there auctioneers involved or some other way of fundraising? And then is there entertainment? These are kind of the core elements of every gala. So I'll tell you what, the hardest one, speeches at the podium. We have a wide variety of people that are usually going to the podium. That means there could be someone really tall. There could be someone really short. There could be someone who's yelling. There could be someone who's very soft-spoken. And most of the people are not professional speakers. So a lot of times they're a little bit nervous too. That's why the podium is usually the hardest microphone in the room. Now, our auctioneers or someone that's doing the fundraising, right? Usually they're on a wireless handheld. They're moving around. They're usually plenty loud. That's not usually an issue for them. Entertainment, that's a wide variety, and that's where you need to talk to the professionals. But do I have any tips, you might ask? I do have a big tip. Rehearse. Do a sound check. Don't just go through one piece, go through all of the pieces. Just like if you did have a band come in, they're going to want to do a sound check. They're going to want to play a song, right? Because they're trying to get their levels to balance out. You have to do that for everybody. Your auctioneer is always going to ask you for a sound check. Anyone who's coming to podium, honestly, it's only like 30 seconds. It'd be great to hear them before, the 500 people come into the room. But that's audio. Is there anything else? There is. There's video. All right, so here are the big things, right? Typical questions that we're going to ask is, where's everybody going to be seated? Can they see? Do we have videos? Have these videos even been given to us? I mean, that's the first thing. A lot of times the videos we don't get until too late. And so then we don't see them until we're playing them. That is not what we want to be doing. So getting those videos to people early so they can test them. Are there slides? Do the slides correspond with the program? If they do, what would be really helpful is to know where they're supposed to go in the program. Very important. If there's a script, literally write it next to where you want it to go in the script. So if it's slide 4, put slide 4 when Joe says, are there slides and camera going on screen? That helps tremendously, and it will result in a much smoother program. All right, let's see. Do we have any tips on these things? Well, we do. If in doubt, add more screens. That's an easy one. right? Because you don't want to take the chance that someone cannot see because they're going to miss your message. Let's go to another tip. If you have a paddle raise, let's say we're going from $10,000 to $5,000 to $2,500, whatever it is, let's put a slide up to represent that. We don't really need to see the auctioneer so much. That's not important. They're running around the room. They're trying to get the crowd engaged. What we do need to know is what will that money, how is it going to be used with the organization? Will that $10,000 go to funding for a machine that's going to help someone in a hospital? Will the $2,500, provide a certain 3 days for, medical training for someone? You have to actually connect the dots for people. They're much more inclined to donate and give and be a part of the solution if you show them some sort of tangible that makes sense to them. And that's where the slides and the video come in play. Last tip, usually use camera on screen when you have a larger audience. It's a bigger room, maybe it's long, it's hard for people to see the stage. Once you start getting to rooms that are 80 feet long, there's hundreds of people, that's really where you need camera. And anything, if there's an overflow room, there's tables that are, in a slightly different space, you need to have a camera there. It's also good if you're trying to record all of those bids and see those paddle numbers. Very important. That way you don't miss anything. You don't have to put it on screen, but you do have to record it. All right, let me see what else we got here. Here's a good example, right? Here's a pretty good size room. We had about just under 600 people. The room is 120 feet wide. It's a long room. So in this case, we did use camera on screen. There were slides that corresponded to the program. And there was 600 people involved in fundraising. So it was all really important to them. And these guys did a great job. Now, before the next piece that I really want to kind of guide everybody on was lighting and staging. So we'll look at this picture again right here, right? There is, actually, this one's better. There is lighting on the stage so everybody can see the people at the podium. But there's also some color, right? There's some warm colors that happens to match up with their color scheme. There's some fabric behind there, so you're not just looking at the hotel wallpaper, which honestly isn't that great. So we don't want to look at that if we don't have to. But it's a simple way, is by adding a little bit of fabric, a little bit of color. That was a breakfast. Let's look at a luncheon. And typically breakfast, luncheons, they have tighter budgets. I mean, that's just the reality. So we're trying to look at ways, simple ways we can help people have some impact and make it look like something. In this case, again, just some fabric behind the podium, some colorful lighting that went with their scheme. And honestly, when you put that person on, put the camera image on the screen as well, it now looks like something. So that becomes a piece you can then use in social media and any follow-up reach out that you have to do to some of the people that are making donations for you. All right, let's keep going. We're going to look at continuing the color. In this particular case, again, we're not talking about a lot of pieces, right? But the color is carried out throughout the room, which is kind of like the next step up. On the stage, there's some branding. There's a few other simple items. In this case, there's a built-in stage. So there's some awards up there. There's a couple of chairs, and there's some branding for the organization. As you go around the room, the lighting is tying it all together so everybody feels a part of it. What's next? Could you do more? You absolutely could do more. You could add some sort of scenic element to it, which is what these little bubbles are that are on the stage up there. The bubbles coincide with their theme. In this case, you can actually see the circles on the image on the screen. And the colors are all tied in again. These are not expensive options, but there's a way to make it look like something. And that's really important. And same thing with carrying that lighting and those colors throughout the room. It just makes it seem like much more of an event. Now, if you take the next step up, there's again some other things you can do at stage and to make it, really feel like it's a special event. And that's what each one of these gala dinners are. They're special events. You're trying to really, engage the audience and try to get them to commit to your cause as much as anything else. They're not just out for a few drinks and some chicken. We want them to be a part of the organization. So you need it to look like something. In this case, the theme was like an enchanted forest. And so we added, some different string lighting. We changed the color of the fabric. We were really trying to make everything work together. And again, this is not big money. It is more money, but it's not big money. It's pretty inexpensive. And then the next step in this particular case was then adding and continuing that to the ceiling and adding some other lighting. But this is all designed to go with your themes and, really so your color scheme and everything is translating together. Now you want to take it the next, this is an interesting shot. Besides the fact that this was my view for the event, because I was running the program, you can see in this little box right here, this guy right here, that's actually what the camera sees. Look at how good it looks and is going to look for their recording because the lighting is good and because there's a backdrop. What if we were just looking at the back of the tent wall, which in this case would just be a white blank wall? Not so thrilling. So these are easy ways to make it look like something. You want to take it to the next step? Let's go to that cocktail space. Let's add some simple color to the cocktail space. Let me just see. Oh, I see some comments here. We're going to come to these comments, I think, afterwards. Let's continue our process here. That's in the cocktail space. And then this is back in that same tented ballroom space. In this, we actually worked in the same space back-to-back evenings. And we changed up the entire color scheme, changed up the whole direction of the space, but just dramatic impact. When you look at this type of event, you go, now that is a gala, right? I mean, it's colorful. It's exciting when you enter. There's things everywhere. Everything matches. That's kind of the idea of adding lighting and some scenic elements. So we covered sound, we covered video, we covered lighting, we covered scenic. Let me go to a question I have that just came in here. Let's see what we got. Our question is there ever a situation where the logo or brand colors are hard to match with the lighting? Yes. All right, next question. No, no, some logos, people ask about patterns and gobos. You'll hear that term out there. A gobo is a stencil. It's a stencil that you're shining light through and you're putting someplace. And there's inexpensive versions. And then there's more, there's things that you can actually have forever. And there's a cost point that goes with them. But there's a variable that goes with that. And, your professionals that you deal with, they can help you with that. But a lot of times we don't like putting those logos or stencils on fabric, especially drape where the idea is you're kind of bunching it up because the logo gets a little bit thrown off skew and it doesn't look right. And so we try to always make the organization's logo look correct. As far as the brand colors, yes, that's another really good point. Because when we're trying to match up, especially like, softer tones, what's hot right now is LED lighting, right? It's bright, it's colorful. They're based off of, when you see a whole bunch of pinks and blues and, oranges, they're usually bright colors. Those are actually, they're pretty hard to subdue in some cases. So you kind of got to work with that scheme. And again, the professionals you're working with can tell you, maybe I can't really get to that color tonight, but I could get to this. They'll walk you through and then you make decisions. If it's something you think would be a good fit, you go with it. Let's see. It's the same question 3 times. Okay, so that's our question. Thank you, Michael J. Dardano. It was a pleasure. I'm glad you're part of the show today. But listen, that is about all I have. But I want you to feel free to share these tips and honestly pass them along, because I think this could help people. We're here to help give ideas, and then to match a budget to something that you can do and that's going to accomplish the goal. And I think we're able to do that a lot for our clients. So look, you can find out more. You find us on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Wednesdays at 1:00. While you're there, make sure you hit the like and subscribe button. And look, you can go after the program, see anything you want on our YouTube channel, and be on the lookout on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. This is like magic. That's why we do this. We're trying to help out. Listen, everybody, it's time for me to go. Bye-bye. Ciao, ciao.